Like to get out and get your hands dirty in your garden, then you're going to love the way we're kicking off Good Things today. Mississippi Farm to School Network has introduced at-home garden grants. They did it the first time around and had over 1,500 families get started doing a home garden. And joining us today is Miss Sunny and Miss Dorothy with the Mississippi Farm to School Network. Hey, ladies.
Hello.
Sunny, I'm going to start with you. We've had Mississippi Farm to School on Good Things before, but I feel like everyone needs to know the good work that your organization does on a daily basis. So give us a little background about the Mississippi Farm to School Network.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. It's so good to be back and good to hear your voice. Mississippi Farm to School Network wants to see more kids in schools across the state eating locally grown foods, both in the school cafeterias, having their lunch ladies purchasing from local farmers, but then also kids learning about how food grows in school gardens and now home gardens too. So it's really those two different ways that we approach farm to school here.
Miss Dorothy, how long has the Mississippi Farm to School Network been at it? I know, let's go pre-pandemic. How long has the organization been trying to source locally grown produce or food into our schools? Miss Dorothy, are you with us? Well, I bet Miss Sunny can answer that question for us. How long has the network been around?
I can't. We started in 2015, but Farm to School has been going on in Mississippi since there were schools and since there were farms. So not a new concept, but we started this work to help grow the movement and make it something that really changes the health of our kids and our local economies in 2015.
Miss Dorothy, I think you're back with us, and I know that you guys worked, very closely with our schools. Well, 2 years ago now, about 18 months plus, our schools kind of looked a little different. So how did the Farm to School Network pivot to keep people connected with, local fresh produce? Sunny, I know you can answer that too. I think we're having technical difficulties with Miss Dorothy.
Dang it.
That's okay.
Is a story much better told by Miss Dorothy because this was her idea. But when the kids were all at home, we saw that a lot of families were gardening because they were looking for stuff to do with their kids when they weren't in school. And then also, we've been dealing with a lot of supply chain issues. Of course, those are even growing now. And it's really important to know how to grow your own food for self-sufficiency, but it's not a skill that a lot of us have anymore, even though we're in Mississippi, which is the best place in the country to grow food, especially in the Delta. So when the pandemic started and the schools were shutting down and our school gardens were shutting down along with them, Dorothy had this fabulous idea to help transfer some of our support and our funds that we raised to home gardeners. So, we were helping these families to start their gardens.
Which y'all had a modest sort of outlook at first, Sunny. In fact, I do remember having you on Good Things talking about the first, slew of grants going out. And it was a modest amount. I think $150 was it. It was going to families to sort of jumpstart their own background or backyard gardens. Y'all were overwhelmed, though, by the response. How many applications did you get in that first dose?
Hello?
Hey, Miss Sunny, are you still with us? How many applications did y'all get the first go around with the grants? Seems we're having a little bit of technical difficulties today, but that's okay. That is what technology is for. We pivot whenever we need to. But I do know that they were extraordinarily successful. They were able to apply. They got $150 grants to purchase the supplies needed, anything from soil to seeds to shovels, even watering canisters to start a little home garden. The whole idea behind it was to get students, when they were stuck at home, to be able to, still have that gardening experience that they would have gotten at their school had they had a school garden. And yesterday, we got the opportunity to go on a field trip to Mississippi State University, where they were also able to sort of see where their food comes from, which in the form of dairy cows or dairy farming, which they're doing an extraordinary job there at Mississippi State University in dairy science. Rhino, have we lost him?
I think we have Sunny.
Oh, Sunny, are you back with
here.
us?
Yes.
That's okay.
Should I go back to your question?
Oh,
real
no,
quick?
that is fine. We're going to figure it out. It is almost Friday, and it's Friday Eve, and, we're going to roll with it. That's cool, though. No, y'all did this first as sort of just an idea for gardening grants.
Yeah.
How many applied?
Yeah, we had enough money to fund 150, which felt like a ton of people and a ton of families. We opened up the application on a Friday, and by Monday we had over 1,000 applicants. It just spread like wildfire, and Dorothy just kept having these great conversations with the Community Foundation of Northwest Mississippi, who was connected with the Maddox Foundation, and they got together with the Kellogg Foundation, and very quickly we were able to fund those $1,000 grants. And we've just kept rolling with it. We got through those, and we opened it back up again, and we've had even more. So at this point, we're doing a simultaneous thing. We're looking to keep funding them, but we're also raising money to be able to do more of these grants because they're making a big difference with these families.
Well, I know it's something super exciting, and I think we have Dorothy back with us, or at least with us to begin with. Hey, Dorothy.
Hello, I'm back, you guys.
I feel like we should all get a hug and a high five after all of our technical difficulties, but that's okay. We are going to make it a success, and you have made it a success with these home garden grants. I mean, was it beyond your wildest imagination to know that 1,000 Mississippi families wanted to jumpstart at-home garden?
It has really been amazing. It's just been my dream come true. Even the mission with the gardens that was in the schools in the beginning was to encourage our children to get mom and dad to do it home. And thanks to the pandemic, that has been possible.
Well,
so that's the most exciting part about it all. It drove us straight to home without having to actually go through the schools. So that mission was accomplished even though we went direct and not from the side anymore because we were tugging from the side to make it happen. So this is a blessing.
Well, I know you're going to be able to do another round of grants that are coming out. I mean, it was such a success this first time. It's a good thing now that y'all are going to be able to offer this again. So what's that going to look like, Miss Dorothy?
Well, looking to expand to other homes and hopefully and some of the families have indicated, that they had more than enough product grown, that they're taking part of the money to expand what they already have. And I think that has been a good thing. And just to see pictures of our children being so excited about what they are doing, and that's enough to push us to move forward. So we're just trying to expand and meet the needs of some of the other interests. And in order for us to do that, of course, we got to do some more fundraising. So we're out and we'll be continuing to ask others to help sponsor this work because it's a need.
It is a need, and it's also a great skill to have to be able to garden outside or even at your own home, knowing where your food sort of comes from. What's it been like for you, Miss Dorothy, just watching kids connect the dots, knowing that the food on their table has grown in the same way, maybe on a larger scale at a bigger farm, as what's happening in their little pots or the little containers out back on their porch?
One thing we know that the children are being involved, and usually in history also says the same thing, and some of our pictures also, is that the children are growing it and they are actually eating it. They're actually eating these vegetables that they are growing. And they're so excited about it, and it's a joy on their faces to see that I took this little tiny seed and look what came from it. I put one seed in the ground and look what I got from it. And it's a lot of lessons can be taught there, not just about the food. That could be about a lot of things in life. For an example, if I save $1, look how much difference it would be in a few years, a few months, or whatever. Anything that you plant today or invest in today, you look for it to multiply. So putting those seeds out there in the ground, putting 2 or 3 cucumber seeds, and you getting 30 or 40 cucumbers from that particular plant, it's an awesome experience just to see that. And it's something that our babies are doing. Look what I grew. And that's the message that we want them to have. And, with the pandemic right now and with all the food shortages, you go in the store now, you can't find a cucumber. Whoever dreamed that would have happened? But go in Dorothy's backyard or go in Johnny's backyard. We got a cucumber back there growing. So that's the message that we want to get to our families, is that we can help you still get those fruits and vegetables, whether you grow them you can buy them in the store, or if you grow them in your own backyard. You're sure to have something one way or the other. So we're trying to get people to recreate.
Miss Sunny, stick with us. We've got more with you coming up next here on Good State. And Miss Dorothy, if I'm looking at this right, the Mississippi Farm to School Network got a garden grant into all 82 counties across Mississippi in this last batch. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What an accomplishment. That is pretty cool. So I wanted to hear some of the success stories that you heard from these families that chose to maybe start the gardens in their backyards for the first time, or either in containers or on back porches. What are some of the things that they grew? What were some of the things that you heard from the families?
We had some families to plant blueberry bushes that has not ever grown them before, and it has been a great success. And they did them last spring. I think this was in our first round of funding, and they did blueberry bushes and a couple of other fruit trees. And the blueberries, of course, bear some, but the fruit trees still have a couple of years. But the environment and reminding the parents it's time to go outside and water them was one of the exciting things. And we had another mother down in the Ridgeland area that did a portable greenhouse and grew plants, and she noticed the house being quiet, and she goes out there in the greenhouse watering or opening up the doors, propping them to get ventilation, because they don't want their stuff to die. And she was like, oh, I did that this morning. Well, it was for us to do, so they was letting her know this wasn't your job. This was ours, is what you said. She told them the garden was just like having a pet, a dog or cat or something. You have to make sure it's fed and all this kind of stuff. So that's what they were doing, and they reminded her that that wasn't what she was supposed to do, because that was their job. Those kind of things taking you a long ways, and it's really exciting to see or hear them talk about it. And the children talking and comparing what their stuff looked like and not having any idea of that a seed can produce all of this, that kind of thing. So
Miss Dorothy,
really
when
great.
did you first get into gardening? When was your first dose of putting a seed in the ground and reaping a harvest from it?
I believe they had me out in the garden when I was crawling. Because as far back as I can remember as a child, our parents has always had a home garden. And that was our way of life. It wasn't an option. And it was a way of survival, or it was a way of getting healthy food. So we've always had gardening. And, of course, we hated the truck patching as I got older, that we had to go out and harvest bushels and bushels of peas or corn and come back and shuck and shell, depending on what it was. But it was at the same time, it was a norm back then, and that's been a lost art. And one of the greatest things of this is that we are getting a chance to restore that art back into a norm for our families. Growing up, we always had fruit trees in our yard. And to be able to go out into your backyard this day and time to come in the house with a meal, it's not just awesome, it's a blessing. And that was the way of life that I grew up in. And I continue with that. And to even say, when my dad died, he had a field of greens. He had a field of all kind of greens in his backyard. And it was something that he would always tell us, if your greens are not ready, you can come get mine, because he always planted those greens in mid-August. And that has been a norm in his life all long as I can remember. So to be able to revitalize this across the state of Mississippi, and then Sunny and I have talked about, we are tired of being number 50 on the opposite end of improvement. So with the gardens, we want to be able to say that this has been a change in Mississippi, and we are number one in it. We want to be number one in something to show improvement in our health, or us being able to restore our food system, or to help work on our food system.
I totally agree, Miss Dorothy. And I was mentioning my daughter took a field trip to Mississippi State, although I think you guys are in Oxford, so don't judge me there. But they went to the dairy science Center for Mississippi State, does a wonderful job in dairy science, and I had some of her students for the first time actually see a cow in person and get to touch or pet it. I will never forget that experience of watching that fourth grader have its first interaction with an animal that provides it nourishment probably daily, with at least within the school, through a glass of milk. And then too, many just don't realize where food comes from. So it's so exciting for me to see kids get excited about that. So I am over the moon that y'all's grant was actually a success, too. But y'all also are still doing work within the schools. Sunny mentioned, Farm to School has been going on since the beginning of time, but somehow it kind of got frayed along the way, and y'all are trying to bring it back in a more big way. What are some of the successes, too, in linking our local farmers back to our local school systems?
The success is still, well, I would say if we had just one sale from last year, it is a success. But to have numerous of sales now being, transpiring between our early childhood care centers as well as our K through 12 schools, that we are able to increase those sales to the school system has been awesome. And there are some areas that we're still weak in, of course, and that's the southeast Mississippi. We're still trying to get our feet in the door. We're still trying to make some connections with the farmers in that side of the state, as well as with some of the schools. And we always put that request out there or appeal to those that are listeners or has connection in those areas to please connect us with them, because we want to be able to say that we are all across the state. We are in different areas, but there's still a lot of territory in some of these counties. We might say we are in 82, but look at the towns and the school districts that's within those counties that we still are not connected with, that we would love to be able to connect with. So it's still I guess you can still struggle, but at the same time, we are having some success, but it's not where I want to be. So with it just being, we used to say 2 people on the team, we now have a few more people. We're still looking for people to help us to get this across the state, because what you're looking at 46, maybe 8 feet, we got other people out there that can be those additional feet that can help us to get this information across the state. So by email, by phone call, by text message, any way that we can get it out there. And we're always looking for help and support.
So how can we do that, Miss Dorothy? How do we get connected with the Mississippi Farm to School Network?
We have MississippiFarmToSchoolNetwork.org. And when you go on there, it lists all of the employees or staff that are associated with the work. And we also have Mississippi Farm to School Facebook page, and our email addresses is listed, and you can reach us there. Of course, you can always reach Dorothy by phone or by email, 662-402-4798, as well as dorothy.mega@gmail.com. If I don't answer, I promise you I'll call you back.
Well, probably because you're in the garden, right, Miss Dorothy?
Probably in the garden or still trying to tread some new territory.
Well, I hope our friends in Southwest Mississippi listening to Good Things can maybe get in touch with you and start getting that ball rolling, because, again, it just gets me excited anytime we can get kids connected to where their food comes from, or, more opportunities to get the first taste of some fresh fruits and vegetables. I think, you just keep trugging along, Miss Dorothy, and it'll slowly, the tide will turn.
Right.
Well, I appreciate your time here on Good Things, Miss Dorothy, and all that you and Sunny and the rest of your team with the Mississippi Farm to School Network, which is also another good organization, but doing something different, is up to. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.